2024. What a crazy year. So in front of you, you're looking at several, 5 books essentially. Each with 30 pages. Only 2 of these being published so far, so this is why I've not spread them all out so you can see the artwork. I will show you a few of the pieces as I go through because some of them are unbelievably beautiful. I mean, come on. Yeah, I just figured I'd talk a bit about last year because I hadn't actually realised how much I'd created. I started off the year with a bit of funding, which is the first time in a long time I've actually had any resources at all. And this is where these projects came from, essentially, is because I had the funding to pay the bills and not worry about anything other than creating, which is why I was able to sort of create one book, then do another, then do another, then do another, then work on my own sort of personal project, which, I like it. It just, I don't know. I'm always a bit weird with my own projects. But if you're wondering why the other 3 haven't actually been released, it's funding. I put all of my eggs in one basket, shall we say. Whereas I probably should have considered the reality of, creating an income out of using the money to create an income, essentially. Instead, I used it to create more art. And whilst I had a lot of fun doing it and enjoyed the process, kind of hit the wall with the actual, being able to adequately continue funding them, like self-publishing books, each one costs 40 to 50 quid, which, well, when you don't have the money, it's a lot. But this is the thing, that after completing these books, I still continue to create, which is what this pile is about, which has another 60 to 80 drawings and illustrations. I'm not going to show all of them because most of them are, well, there are different themes, different ideas and different concepts, but some of which are, not safe for work. I don't know what the correct term is, really. It's all art, isn't it? So, but yeah, I had a really good time just sort of experimenting with different ideas and just playing around with sketching again, sort of getting back into the habit of just creating, not worrying entirely about the sort of finished pieces and just sort of test out ideas. Don't know if you can see this one. It's let's get some light on the situation. There we go. Hiya! That's right. It's an illustration with pearls. That's right. A pearlescent drawing. I figured I'd try it. It kind of worked. Kind of didn't, but yeah, there's a lot. It worked out. I think I've created about 270-ish. Let's say. The exact number is iffy because, well, there's 150 there essentially, and then I've got a pile of, all of these are on 300 GSM paper, and then there's some that are on the 240, is it? 240? 250. This stuff. It's the problem, I end up drawing on everything. That's why a lot of these have also got illustrations on. Not that any of it's been used necessarily, but, One of my favourite pieces from the year, though, which I probably shouldn't share, to be fair, because is this one. some point in the year, I decided I needed to improve my skill. It's like later in the year. So I was like, right, let's go do some more complex sort of illustrative works. So I decided to reinterpret and or reimagine the famous Michelangelo piece of reaching to God, but in a modern concept. Because, yeah, technology has kind of carved the way for people to be entirely ignorant and or to disregard what was, you know? I don't know. Like I say, some interesting and or strange pieces this year. Because like I say, once I did the sort of children's books, it was nice to get back and just make more contemporary, you know, something a bit more thoughtful, you know? Doesn't need to necessarily be slap you in the face and upset you, but, you know, it's just nice to play around with different themes and ideas. And, well, given the fact I've never really played around with creating landscapes, this is where a lot of this came from, because it was like, well, I've spent so long developing sort of skills and techniques, I'd kind of forgotten why I enjoy doing what I do, and that's just pulling things out of my mind and then trying to make them try and make them make sense, I suppose, would be the best way of looking at it. Like I say, this is only a very small part of what I actually did last year, because there's also a whole pile of framed and other works. And I keep pointing out this piece because, well, this is the goal. Start funding a public art installation in the next year or so, because, yeah, whilst I enjoy just creating art, you know, I love just being lost in the source, just head down, get on, you know, like with these, I just did it. I didn't really document an awful lot of it because I was just enjoying the process of doing it. And that's kind of what made me realise last year, is like, this is why I need to be a bit more aware of funding and or how to continue to fund some of these ideas, because I can just keep going, like, indefinitely. A lot of the reason I don't is because I just haven't had the funds to keep up with my sort of inherent prolific nature. I always find it upsetting when people just think it's prolific for the sake of prolific. And it's like, no, I'm just exploring my mind. It's just, there's a lot. It's always on the go, and there's always something else to try and replicate or create or think about, or, you know. Take a look into Pandora's box, eh? And a lot of the reason why I stopped sharing a lot of these images was AI. As much as I don't really use it that much, it's kind of insulting that to think that a lot of the work I've done by hand is being ripped off and used by other people that are just pressing buttons and using AI systems that have used other artists' work to learn. It's kind of insulting, and, you know, had to think a bit more carefully about how, not only how I put work out, but what I do with the work once I've got it out, you know, like. And inevitably, you know, thinking about how to sell and sort of produce more work to be able to continue doing what I love. That's one of the biggest things I realised last year, because it was like, well, I just love making stuff. I don't really, the money is important. It's, being able to pay your bills is massively important. But at the same time, I'm happiest when I'm making stuff, and it's like, I just need to get into a better position to continue to be able to make stuff. Whoa. Steady on there. Like I say, not all of it was perfect. This is the thing, I'd never really thought about making books. It's not something I'd considered ever really doing. I hadn't ever thought of myself as an illustrator. I just make stuff, which, well, it's not a bad thing, but at the same time, you've got to be real, haven't you? And it's all well and good having all this art, but if nobody actually knows about it, what good is it? But yeah, I figured I'd show off some of what I've been doing, because like I say, I've completely forgotten half of what I've done, if I'm honest. I'd spent so much of last year just working on what's next, what can I do in the future, what plans or shows or exhibitions, I've been sort of just thinking, planning, creating more, planning more. And this is while just continually trying to appease the innate obsession of wanting to just keep creating, because, yeah, it's a bit hard to explain at times. Especially when you've just got your head down and you're just busy doing, I think that's half the reason I hate justifying what I'm doing and explaining it, because it's just like, I just want to work on what's next. I don't... Like, someone asked recently what was the meaning of something, and it was just like, I don't know. Like, I don't know why I create some of the things I do. It just happens. Like, very cute. Yeah, like I say, I will continue to work on getting these out there in the world. It's just funding. Need to work on funding some, not only these sort of smaller scale projects, but actually start working on this beastie. Because having done some basic sort of maths from looking at this painting, and yes, I'm using a painting to figure out the art installation. Don't ask. It's about 5 meters tall, 3 meters wide, and then this is probably about 10 to 20 meters long, which it's a lot of materials, a lot of time, and a lot of cost. And that's without the house and all of the surrounding infrastructure. I mean, can you call flowers part of an infrastructure? I would say so, but yeah. But yeah, if you want to help, like I say, there will be links in the description to said books that are out, and I am working on another sort of collection of artworks for another project. And that's along with trying to figure out what I'm doing with some of these, because whilst these are all sort of completed projects or things that I've worked on over the year. Like, they're not, I don't really have a idea or, I don't know what I'm doing with them, if I'm honest. That's why they're in a pile, because there's no real, there's themes among there, but there isn't anything that's sort of distinctly, well, there's not a story, It's not the same as writing or creating some of these where it's like, the first one was a bit haphazard, and then subsequently I've had to be a bit more serious about actually creating a story and storyboarding and learning how to actually do these things in a way that makes sense. Which was probably the hardest thing with creating these four. That one, not so much, because I just sort of created as a bunch of work and tried to link it together, which may or may not have worked, but it's another way of getting some of the art without having to break the bank. Right, are we getting somewhere? Yeah. It's too much. It's just too much. So, what we've actually been doing is just working on sites of prayer. You see some of the work if you follow the TikTok. Might have posted some on the old YouTube and Instagram as well, but not sure if these are going to be used in as part of a story yet, or just as a part of a collection. I'm genuinely not really sure. And some of them are way off, But that being said, I have about another 30 or so of those ones, which, yeah, there's a lot. And this is why I've figured it would be easier just to sort of lay it all out and explain it, what I've been doing and where some of it's been going, because it was the nicest thing to actually have that sense of relief of not having to worry about money and just being able to create. And that's why, like I say, this year, this is the main goal, because, well, boy needs to eat, basically. And to continue to serve, to continue to improve and learn and develop. Because for many years I was doing it ass backwards with little to no food, little to no money, and, it directly influences the work that you create, because you're, ask anyone, if you're not in the best of headspaces, it's very difficult to actually focus on something positive. Whereas if you're in a positive environment, it's easy, That's the thing I realised with these. It was like, it was so refreshing to just create and just know that I could. Like with some of these paintings, I should really do a better job of actually showing them off, but I don't really have the actual space to do it. That's why I haven't done a sort of painting review yet, because I don't have the space to actually lay them all out and show you them all. It's a bit like with some of these. If I actually laid everything out and tried to show you it all, there's there's not hundreds of square feet, but it's an interesting thing I worked out last year. If I was to actually lay out all of the A4 illustrations or mixed media pieces, it'd be about 200 square foot of artwork that I've created since I started, which is obscene. One day I hope to actually get to see it all laid out, because, my God, it would be quite amusing to see just the potential of imagination, It's like to see it all laid out through the years and the sort of developing theories and themes that have run through everything that I've created. It's like, yeah. But hey, all in due time, like I say, still fairly young in the game when it comes to art, so keep learning, keep progressing, keep playing around with styles. Ooh. Arguably one of my favourite pieces from the book. Mostly because of the fingerprint. But, hey. Like I say, I will find a way to look at some more of these paintings, even if they're just on an individual basis, and we'll talk a bit about the meaning and, I don't know, like I say. All in due time. All in due time. And like I say, if you want to help support and or fund some of the goals, there will be links in the description to books, maybe some of the art projects. Website's down currently due to funding. Yeah, let's say retroactively, it may well be up by now, but you know, got to put it in there. And as always, I will be back with something. Something. Hopefully, like I say, it will be with one of these book projects, because they are utterly gorgeous. This is the third one, so still got another Alfie to go, which I think is written. It just needs to be published, but you know, still got to be run through the proof copy before it can actually be published, which, yeah, may well be a little bit of time before you see this one. But like I say, the only real hold back to any of these things is funding, because if I had the funding, I'd be able to just throw the money at the author to be able to get it done. And, well, continue to produce more beautiful things. I don't know, like I say. Check out the links in the description, subscribe, like, all that usual jazz. As always, thank you very much for putting up with my diatribe. I will be back.